to my computer. Right. Okay. Where do we want to start? Do we want to talk about your work, do a quick interview about that, or do you want to talk about Efron? Where do we want to just start? Are we? This was really a recording for you, wasn't it? To talk about your work. That was the plan.
Yeah, I think that's the plan, but we can start with anything. Um,
Well, no.
Ephraim texted me this morning and said he was going to focus in his energy on his family. And so he was going to switch his focus away, I guess, from his own health to his kids, which I think is great. I know that he was supposed to see John James yesterday at the Kikino Clinic, and John does kind of a deep breathing exercise that helps release, that's more hands-on. And Ephraim is definitely more concerned with like the structural issues that he experiences. I needed John to put his hands on him and kind of get a feel for what was happening in his body. Um, but I don't know exactly how that went because then the next message I get is like, hey, I want to focus my energy on my kids. So he's going to pause all the work that we're doing, which I totally agree with. I think that it would be very beneficial for him to pay attention to something else other than his own symptoms for a while. But I honestly don't think that he'll be able to because he's very focused, to a point of being obsessed about his symptoms, which, is understandable in that kind of situation. And he, knows it. So maybe that's why he's going to try to shift and do something else.
Well, his well, I released a load of stress off of him.
Uh-huh.
I knew there was a reason why we weren't talking. So I had to position my mic. In the limbic brain, and he didn't really get back to me on that because I wanted to speak to you about it anyway, so we didn't get a chance. Um,
So he said during his session with you, he had trouble focusing because of the light flickering in his eyes.
yeah.
And but he said he shared that with you to let you know he wasn't being able to get into that meditative state because when he closes his eyes, he sees a lot of the light flickering sparks and mind kind of goes everywhere. So I know that he feels like he's not getting a successful, I guess, connection in with the meditation because he doesn't feel like he can completely zone in and focus in like he needs to. I explained that he doesn't have to at all. He can do all the work with his eyes open if that's easier on the brain, not stimulating, that particular part. Um, but again, it's going to take him a little while to move from his concept of how things like meditation should be, right? He thinks meditation should be complete, quiet, absolute focus, diving into, and if you don't get there, it's not working. Away from, hey, do what your body's doing, do how your body's able to do it, and that will work for you, right? But he's definitely not there yet.
Right. I felt that he kept talking about he saw this chiropractor and then he had acupuncture. And at the very end, that sort of exploded all his symptoms a week ago. Did he talk
Mm-hmm.
about that?
Yes.
Yeah. And
But then after that day, he kind of came around because yesterday he told me that he didn't think that that appointment is what caused those symptoms. But he doesn't understand, why his body's experiencing what it's experiencing.
hmm. Well, I've got a good idea as to why it's experiencing it. I mean, it's horrible, but he's just completely under stress continuously and not repairing. So therefore, the body's reacting in that way, and this is just continuously causing a loop, an ongoing loop. That's why I said, well, let's have a go, see if we can get in with the releasing the stress off the body, and then that will
Mm-hmm.
hopefully help a little. and I haven't spoken to him yet today. I may have to wait till tomorrow just to find out what the hell's going on. Did it have any effect? Did he have some sleep? I don't know.
Well,
Because
I think his decision to stop focusing on himself means that he's making progress because that's an important thing for him to do. Um, he does, I guess, in the past several days, talk about having more suicidal thoughts. So I want to make sure that I'm checking in and he's, talking and staying on board with doing what, he feels like he needs to do. Because I think last Sunday, Monday a little bit, I talked him through it, but last Sunday he definitely was just tired of doing all the things.
okay, perfect. All right, well, let's work with you. I'm just
Okay, what are we gonna talk about?
okay. We're going to talk about your work, and I sent you this one, didn't I? And
I
that,
bought it.
yeah. Oh, well, you're in it a lot. Well, times. Um, what I'm going to do then is let's just have it doesn't have to be long. We can just sort of introduce your work. You've got a website now, so we'll do that. We'll talk a little bit about, well, we'll have to put that in the link. The way I've done this in the past is um, we'll talk about, I'll do an introduction. Um, Then what we'll do is that I'll bring in the book and I'll say that you're in it and you actually work with Marcy, who's the lady in here, and talking about toxicology and working to bring the tumor size down. And Marcy doesn't exist. It's a made up character. Um, for a good reason. And then what I want to do is I'll talk about how we met and your past. Um, and we don't have to get into anything outrageous or challenging of your previous relationship and all that, because that's not for this. This is more, okay, so who is Rebecca? Why is Rebecca so unique? Why did I mention Rebecca in the book? Why is your work so different from everybody else's work? Uh, what your training was and why do you focus in on other things? And particularly your work with dental work, amalgam fillings, those types of things, fluoride, and if you have thoughts or opinions, please express them. And it's really about persuading other people that they should come and see you and work with you if they've got a problem, and also showing that there are other ways to achieving healing that they can do, plus your own personal philosophies, like we saw with Rachel. If
Mhm.
someone wants to go down a specific avenue, they can. That's okay, And I think that great statement of choose the point of the least fear, or you have a different way of putting it, but I got it written down somewhere. So should be okay. Let's
Okay.
see where we go. Um, the other thing is that, like I said, I need to introduce everything, and I'll do all the editing. It takes forever to do the editing, up to 4 hours sometimes. But
Oh,
it's
goodness.
forever. Oh, I've just done one. You know Dr. Marlene Siegel, do you?
Yes.
Yeah, she sort of said, "Oh, I don't remember Rebecca." I said, "You idiot." I said, "Of course you remember." She says, "No, I know, don't worry.
Well,
She'll
I mean, I only talked to her a couple of times, but I've texted her um, about, clients, about people with pets to send to her.
oh,
But
she'll
I mean,
know you. She just hasn't made the connections. Don't worry. Being silly. Just overwhelmed with something or other. Okay, so let me start then. Uh, and I'll do my normal thing. Welcome, everybody. It's Richard Flook, guiding healing energetically, and today we have Dr. Rebecca Gracia, and just it's so delightful to be able to spend some time with Dr. Rebecca. I don't often get her on video because she lives out in the sticks in Texas. I also just recently heard that she recently got remarried, which is amazing. But also, she's inside the book, How Can I Heal? Quite a few times I talk about her about Marcy, who's a fictional character who I take through breast cancer, and I get Dr. Rebecca involved to assist Marcy with her detoxification of what's going on inside the tumor. Now, although this is made up, we and her have had clients that are real where we've done very similar things. So really, I'm going to go straight over to Rebecca, and it's great to have you here, Rebecca. I don't know where you are. Are you in a coffee shop or something? Because
Yeah, thank you. No, actually, I am in my beautiful friend Dominique's clinic that is in Rockwall. So we have an amazing oasis of health where people come in for all types of holistic and natural healing. So if I'm working with people one-on-one, most of the time I will be here. It's a Rockwall Complete Healing and Wellness. It's set up with the place for me to do my thermograms. So the thermal bioscans are done here. We also do lymphatic work, colonics, IVs, nutritional consultation. We have a beautiful PA that we work with, and just a handful of beautiful, highly talented practitioners who specialize in natural and holistic health. So I like to think of it as our health oasis. It's a beautiful place. It's like set up as a spa, very relaxing, very beautiful.
and that would fit totally in with what I know about you. I just realized I'm wearing my um blue blocking glasses. They look a bit odd. They're actually my son's, but so doesn't matter. We'll work with that.
No,
Um,
it's good.
I think knowing you and what you've done in the past, and we were talking with a client yesterday, and you mentioned some of these things like the thermobioscan. Is this the acupuncture point?
Yes.
Thermography bioscan, which I did with you. This is one of the things I did with you many years ago now, when we met in Dallas um, at the Academy of Comprehensive and Integrated Medicine. But this is we'll talk about that a bit later on, but also lymphatic drainage, colonics, IVs, intravenous therapies, all things that most people will go, and it goes straight over their heads. Um, and I think that this is really important that many people, when they get a disease and a diagnosis, especially something like a tumor of some sort, the natural way that the medical profession is trained is to offer what they've been taught at school, at
Mhm.
university, that there is really only one choice. And clearly, the work that you do, it looks like a spa. It even sounds like a spa. Everything's very relaxing. That's the opposite. I'll let you talk.
Right. I always like to explain to people that, doctors and practitioners in general are limited to what is in their toolbox. They can only use what their training has provided them the information for. And depending on which path you take, which practitioner you're working with, will determine what tools they will be able to use. And so I have my background on the conventional side. I've worked alongside the conventional doctors in hospitals with those protocols. So I understand the tools in their toolbox, and I understand what they can do and also what their limitations are. And so, really, it's good to have access to as many different tools as possible so that you can make a selection for what is the best fit for your body, because everyone is individual it needs an individual protocol, an individualized action plan moving forward to meet your health goals. And so it's not that we completely discount any of the conventional types of therapies or tools. We just want to expand what we have access to so that we can get better, faster, more efficient outcomes.
And I think that this is really important that people who are watching this understand that what you're saying is the doctors, let's put this into context. The people that are teaching the doctors are the people that are going to benefit from the doctors using those therapeutic interventions. So this is going to be like the big pharma groups, uh, principally are going to be in there saying, well, this is what the teaching is, and you're going to get paid in the university if you teach this. And the universities, they're businesses too, whether we like that or not. So they're going to go, well, it makes more sense to do it that way. So when someone comes in and says, but there's thermography, well, where's the money? We need our check. Well, we don't really have very much. Well, we're not going to spend any time on it. Sorry. Um, and likewise, they may, and a lot of people actually say, well, where's the proof? Where are the papers? And you show them the papers, they go, yeah, but we've got 1,000 other papers from this, so we're going to use that instead. And this is the way it goes. So people understand that. And it's just, this is the way that this has happened. And of course, it's got very, very skewed and got worse and worse and worse. But we don't
It's
need.
actually, yeah, it's actually fascinating that you bring up the research and the papers because with thermography specifically, they did a full medical review on um, mammograms as far as looking at breast health, which is typically what we will use thermograms for, looking at breast health cancer detection. And so the Swiss Medical Board did a complete medical review of all of the literature on mammograms specifically, looking at outcomes, risk versus benefit, and came 100% to the conclusion that mammograms were not effective, nor beneficial, nor the best choice available. But in the small summary category at the very end, right, they listed, well, since everyone's kind of used to doing this anyway and it would disrupt the whole industry, we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah,
Even though the science hard proof proves that they don't work and they're not efficient, we have better options. We're going to continue doing it anyway to not disrupt the status quo in the industry currently in place.
so there we have it. This is.
Published in the New England Journal of Medicine, like published.
It's crazy. And you and I know that this goes on. I was reading only very recently that over something like almost 90% of papers, which is where the medical doctors get their trust. It's when they go, well, this is the way it's done. We believe this. There's no doubt whatsoever when I prescribe a medication, and this is the latest one, that this is where I've got to go. This is what they're taught. This is how they do most of their medicine. Well, over 90% of those papers are false. They've been the figures have been messed around with, and this is now a common fact. I even cite that in my book. Less of that, because I don't think we really need to focus down on that. What I really want to, I just want to give a person a why things like thermography. We had an interesting conversation, or lymphatic drainage. These are all things and that we can talk about because they're what you're looking at. You want to offer those other options and also give a client a damn good reason as to why they could be effective for that client. So tell me more then. For example, when we were talking with the lady yesterday, and we were talking about ozone therapy, for argument's sake, and she goes, I don't even know what that is. Then you talk about thermography. I don't know what that is. Then you talk about IVs. Some people go, oh, I don't know what an IV is. Or what was the other thing you mentioned?
Or
Doing,
the lymphatic drainage.
why? Why do these things? What are they? Why would you recommend them? Your principal training has been in toxicology, so that sort of gives an idea. Is that right? Um,
Yes, so on my conventional side of training, I started out in pharmacology. So I went to pharmacy school. I'm a board certified pharmacist, but I was very unhappy with the training that I received because I can read studies, I can understand the math, and I know that our recommendations are not based on anything that is factual or true, or the statistics just didn't add up. So I continued my training and I did a fellowship in toxicology, which I loved. It was amazing and really got me out into the field of what really happens, not just what is in textbooks or per the protocols. All right, Richard, I think I lost you. Are you still
I'm
there?
still here. I'm still here. Keep
You're
talking.
you're back. Okay, good. Yes. So then after the toxicology training, or rather kind of at the same time, I actually did the training program for the clinical research, through where we learned how to do patient-based research there. And each step along the way, as I gathered more and more certifications, more and more degrees, it all led me to continue looking for something that actually worked, that was evidence-based medicine. And that's where I landed in with natural holistic medicine, and started learning about things like thermography, that then linked me in with other practitioners who specialized in the IV types of therapies, the lymphatic drainage, right? And then, of course, the ever crucial aspects as far as the spiritual emotional types of healing, which is what you specialize in. Because if you want to see a protocol that works, if you want to see people walk away from their diagnoses, their chronic conditions, it really takes the combination of the spiritual, the emotional, and the physical side in order to get a complete type of action plan. And that's what I do now, is I help people piece together, right, what components of those different areas they need in order to meet their health goals. So the reason why I recommend the different types of therapies and protocols is because that's what works. And we walk our clients through step by step, measuring what their bodies are doing. That's a beautiful thing about the thermogram. Thermography is able to measure the body's response to how the protocol is working within the body, even before you have symptoms. So we can track, we can see, are we making headway? Do we need to make changes? And then we get faster, more complete responses, which is why people go, into the medical field to start with. You want to help people. And so I've landed in this kind of holistic, non-conventional market because it's what works. It's where I see the best benefit for our clients.
Well, let's just expand on just some of those things that you've done the research on that you found actually works. Let's start off with thermography. I give people a tiny little story. You could talk about the one thermography that you do. Is that correct? Or
Yes, that's the computer regulated thermography. I use the AlphaSite 9000. There are a couple of different kinds, and the computer regulated thermography, the CRT, is the most in-depth detailed. It's more complicated to interpret, but you get the most information from that particular form of thermography.
so I just explain a little bit about what I know about it, and of course you'll go into a lot more detail. But I remember you took a wand. It's a wand, but it's basically got a very sensitive camera on there, and it's using light. Basically, we'll put up a picture of what it does, and You do a before and after with about a 30 minutes in between, can be a woman or a man. And basically, you're measuring different points throughout the body, and then the computer works it all out. Then from there, you can do a, a diagnosis because you're trained in that. So give people a little bit more information, because this is a non-invasive specialist camera that is looking at different heat wavelengths inside the body, as far as I can tell. I'll let you tell people exactly what's going on with that, and why you would.
Yeah,
No, well, you've already said what.
right. No, no, exactly. It's super simple, which is why I love doing this. So it's non-invasive. There's no radiation. It's not painful. The wand is uh, actually bouncing light waves off the surface of the skin to get the temperature measurements, right? And so we go through about 120 points across the head, neck, chest, abs, a couple on the back. And then, so all of the trunk areas where the skin is innervated with the nerves that then attach to the spine to the internal organs. So that's kind of the connection and how we can use the surface of the skin to get an idea of the function of all of the body systems and internal organs. And then once we have the readings, we have, the before, then we have the cooling phase, and we have the after. The computer crunches those numbers. And Dr. Beelan actually has a beautiful full color report that is then automatically generated looking at that temperature response to see root cause, right? So that's our number one reason to do the thermal bioscan, is what is the root cause of whatever is happening, and then look at the function of the systems to get an idea of what the body's doing in real time. Because although two individuals may have the same symptom, very likely what we need to do about that symptom are going to be very different depending on that person's constitution, right? So the scan gives us the mathematical readings that are then matched up with the function of those internal body systems, whether it's brain, whether it's immune system, whether it's lymphatic system. And again, this is like the only test we have to measure the function of the lymph system, the digestive system, liver, kidneys, all of your internal organs are rated as far as how they're functioning. And then we look down and figure out how it's connected and figure out what we need to do first, right? So we come up with a very simple step-by-step plan, depending on, what the individual, what that client has tried before, what their body likes, what they've used, what they have access to, and we piece together the best type of plan utilizing all of the tools that we have available in our toolbox, which is quite extensive when you're looking at holistic natural medicine. And I tell people, for every problem, right, you come with symptoms, you come with problems. For every problem, you have multiple solutions. So that takes that worry, that takes the fear away from what do I need to do? We look at the options and we pick one, continue on that path, and then make adjustments as we need. Because every step that you take on the holistic natural side will improve your body, right? If you're working on the lymphatic system, that's going to help detox, that's going to help hormones, that's going to help blood flow, circulation, because on the holistic side, it's holistic. We're looking at the whole body. Every step that we take is going to be beneficial. You don't have to worry about, well, is this medication going to fix the problem, right? Each step is going to help the body come back into balance, working with holistic natural choices.
And I know from experience and also working with clients as well, that if you go down that avenue, you feel great. You're
Yeah,
actually healing. I mean, this is the madness. Yes, you might have low energy because your body is using that energy to heal what's going on, but you don't have this traditional, in what people would consider in medical terms, very few of these things have horrendous side effects, which most of the other type of interventions are, the traditional ones that most people would focus on. This is just weird, isn't it? So often in a medical sense, we have to get you close to the edge of your life with therapeutic interventions like radiotherapy or chemotherapy or even surgery to heal you. Whereas if you're doing these other things, I mean, those can be, there are benefits of those in certain places. But these other things, you actually feel great as you're doing them. That's bizarre. So you're doing lymphatic drainage, you're pulling out all these toxins. As you do, that can be unpleasant, I agree. But the other key important factor is you start to feel full of energy, full of life. So let me talk a little bit about the thermography. There are other types of thermography as well, where it's a camera and they can shoot that on you. And many women, I say to them, if they're going to have a mammogram, go and have thermography instead, non-invasive. A mammogram actually requires pressing the breast and shooting X-rays through it. It's as we understood. There's some other things. So that's what the thermography is about that you use. I did it. It's fantastic. It takes a while, but incredible information from that. Let's talk about lymphatic drainage and what you're doing with that, because most people have no idea how that works. They think lymphatic drainage? What is that? In fact, let's just start off with what are the lymphs? What is that? Because we have one system called the blood system. We have the lymphatic system. Most people have got no idea. So can you elaborate?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I completely understand. I also did not know what the lymphatic system was when I finished with my medical training, which I thought was entirely inappropriate, seeing as it's in vastly important throughout the entire body. So the lymphatic system is very much like the circulatory system, and in pictures it's drawn alongside it and it looks just like it. It's just colored typically green in your anatomy books, but there are vessels that carry fluid that has information, that has immune information, it has hormone information, it carries toxins out from the cells to your primary organs, liver and kidneys, to be processed, detoxed, and cleared out of the body. So I like to tell people your lymph system is like the highway your body uses to dump out toxins. When your lymphatic system is blocked or clogged or slow or sluggish, it's like when there's traffic on the highway and the cars get slow and everything slows down. And then if there's not enough flow on the highway in a traffic situation, cars just start exiting. And here in Texas, we have trucks with big tires, so they just drive all over the road and off into other places. And it's the same concept with the lymphatic system. The toxins that are stuck there get dumped into the nearby tissues. So case in point, um, about 95% of all of the cases I've seen in thermography where a patient will have stress to the thyroid, diagnosed or undiagnosed, the root cause and underlying reason will be because the lymphatic system is not flowing like it needs to. So the lymphatic system points from the head, run down behind the ears, down the neck on the side, and your thyroid is located right here. So if you have a significant source of toxicity in the mouth, in the dental area, which is another highlight of thermography as we look at that dental area, the toxins will build up down the neck and dump into the thyroid. So there is rarely an issue that originates in the thyroid itself. You can then trace back to the root cause and find that the lymphatic system isn't flowing. That's impacting the thyroid. And the lymphatic system is overloaded from toxins from the dental area or the head, sinuses.
And so many women with thyroid problems.
So
And
many.
yeah, I mean, and here we are. Here's your answer. It isn't actually the thyroid that's gone wrong. It's probably due to, well, the nemesis that you discovered inside my mouth, which was amalgam fillings, which I then went off and had all of them removed in one session without anesthetic, which was a mistake.
Oh
We
no,
told me, why the hell did you do that? Um,
just
yeah.
because you could.
Well, it was, but also I learned that later on I should have done a quarter, the top one quarter, left, right, bottom, and also get some form of electrical understanding to see which ones really need to be removed. But yeah, I think that saved my life because I was listening to radio stations, but also then the thyroid as well. Or I could tune into radio stations in my home, which was not very pleasant and almost turned me mad. So that, not the, it was, that's why, I really need to talk to you about it. But I think one of the things that you do a lot of work with is working with biological dentists, and you and I know quite a few as well. Some of them are personal friends of yours. I don't want to go too much. I want to talk about the dentistry side, but it's we talked about the lymphatics because I think there's some other research that shows we actually have lymphatics in the brain, which is quite a recent discovery. Uh,
Yes.
really, how ridiculous is that? But we also have lymphatics all the way through the body as well. And there are ways to be able to train the lymphatic system. And one of them is this through these wonderful very low electrical pulsations as well, which you can go off and get that type of therapeutic intervention. I can't remember the wonderful lady that we know. Do you remember her name?
Well, I have several people who do the electrolymphatic drainage. Um, Tammy was at our conferences. She's down in Waco, and she does it. Dominique does it here in the office here in Rockwall. And then, you might be talking about Jennifer
Yeah,
she's in Georgia.
yeah.
Yeah,
What's Jennifer's second name? Because I can't remember. Doesn't matter.
Garner or
Gardner, that's it. Yeah.
or yeah, starts with a
But
G.
she's like she's the top of a tree. Not because she wanted to be, she just is.
She ended up learning and then being called on to teach what she knows.
Mm,
So she didn't set out to be there, but because she learned it and then was then called on, then now everyone goes to her to learn this therapy.
yeah. And she's amazing. Absolutely, just like you, a genuine, heart-centered, incredible person. So yeah, just to give people a little bit of an insight into that, these and I'll put up some pictures on here that just show the sort of like large glass bowls, and the electricity goes through them, and they channel the lymphatic down through the system, and gets the lymphatic system draining again. You okay? Do you need to deal with something or?
No, that's good. I was trying to see if I had Jennifer's contact information, but
Okay.
I don't think it's in front of me. Otherwise, I would give it to you.
Yeah. If you can, that'd be great, but we'll get
Yeah,
that.
I'll find it. I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
So let's also then talk about colonics as well, because this is another area which most people, let's be honest, you don't really want to be putting. Well, let's talk about it because it's you got to talk about it because it's an area people go, oh, I don't think I want to do that, but you got to understand why you do it.
Well, I think there's two types of people who really shy away and are very uncomfortable, and then other people who love it because you do feel fantastic whenever you get that kind of release from the intestines. So with the colonics, you're basically using as controlled water flow from a hose from a tube to flush and wash out the inside of the intestines. So the water is actually introduced in through the colon, right? And so it is kind of uncomfortable at first, because you're not used to having water go in. You're only used to things coming out from the colon. But it is just shocking to see how much undigested material comes out from the intestines. Even if you are having regular bowel movements, there are areas in the intestines that bits of fecal matter get adhered to the walls. And so you have that undigested, the areas of either food or even supplements that we have found that get stuck to the inside of the wall. And then literally it starts to rot. Like on the thermogram, the signature is called putrefaction. Like straight up, that's what it is. So you can have these areas of putrefied um, fecal matter in your intestines that then release these bacteria that are causing more inflammation. So using the colonics can go in, help wash, flush everything out so you get a good clean start. And then you want to follow up with a good dose of probiotics to repopulate with a good healthy high dose of the types of bacteria that you want in your gut. So some people who have more chronic issues come in on a regular basis for colonics. I generally recommend for everyone to do some type of bowel cleansing, at least twice a year as far as a routine maintenance cleansing, because we know that the intestines don't always get a good complete cleansing. Also, while you're in session doing a colonics, they can do a follow-up enema with coffee is probably the top number one requested enema for those benefits. It helps your liver detox. They also can do things like wheatgrass. There's several other options that you can benefit to get an absorption directly in through the colon. So if it's absorbing in through the colon, there's a direct blood flow that goes to the liver. So then you don't have to go through the digestive tract that kind of metabolizes things. You get a direct shot at the liver. So that's one of the benefits of doing colonics other than the cleansing that occurs. So again, we have two two types of people that love it, schedule on a regular basis because they can feel that lightness after they're cleaned out. Other people who are more reluctant, but they still understand that, yeah, that's an important part of health. And in our current environment, with our world, with the number of toxins that we're faced with day to day, our bodies need all the help we can get.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just so people understand that it has to go up your bottom.
Yes, it goes to anus. Yes, it does.
Yes. So this is why
And then
Rebecca
it comes out.
very nice. Oh, it has to go up the colon. Now we have to understand. This is why people go, oh, I don't want to do that. But get yourself over that. And the cleansing benefits are fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Like you said, you just feel lighter, you feel better. It's coffee enemas, as you said, wheatgrass, but just warm water and a good colonic person doing colonic irrigation really knows what it tends to be a female thing. I don't know why. They really know what they're doing. So that's one thing. And the benefit, let's just put it, is detoxification, and it's also detox or allowing the liver to let go of anything that it's stored, which is absolutely essential because that's one of the cleansers that you talked about. Intravenous what are we talking about? I mean, we often talk, the recommendation that you made to Marcy was intravenous vitamin C and the question is why? I mean, I cover it in the book, but why would you do that? And do you still do that? Because this is a good question.
Yeah, absolutely. So the benefit of using the intravenous route is that you're not relying on your gut. You're not relying on your stomach, your small intestine to do the work of the absorption so that you're able to get higher doses in a shorter amount of time. So you can create what we call a bolus effect. You get a higher peak, so it pushes more into the cells, right? If you, I mean, you could chew on vitamin C, capsules all day in order to get a high dose, but you're limited by how much you can absorb across the stomach and the small intestine. It can only take up so much at a time. Typically, with your IV doses, we're talking about massive amounts. So we may start off with like 25 grams of vitamin C. Just to put that in perspective, most of your capsules or tablets are going to be 500 milligrams or maybe 1 gram of the ascorbic acid in that capsule. And with the IV, we're going to start off with 25 grams and go up to 50 grams. Occasionally, you'll have people who will do higher amounts. But with doing your super high amounts, you want to make sure you're following up, checking kidney function and things like that. So you're getting high dose of a concentrated supplement, vitamin C or ascorbic acid in this case, with a large amount of volume. So I actually see tremendous amount of benefit doing the hydration in with the IV because so many people are dehydrated. Even if they're drinking a lot of water, the ability to absorb that water, to work with it, to get it into the cells is impaired. And so you're not really getting the water deep into the tissues. Whereas in an IV form, with a high level push, you can get it into those extracellular matrix areas a lot farther than just with drinking water. The other benefit of doing the IVs for hydration is you can balance out your minerals. You can get a good like alkaline level into the blood, which actually changes the receptor sites so that you're able to uptake these types of vitamins and minerals to a greater degree. And your neurotransmitters are going to be able to be more effective in your brain for brain function. So that's one of my other favorite things to do, other than vitamin C, ozone, lots of options in the IV route.
And I remember doing an IV vitamin C where you were in the clinic, and that was quite incredible. I needed it because I think I just had the amalgam fillings removed. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. The point is that the intravenous vitamin C is actually very brilliantly researched. A guy called Linus Pauling won, I don't think he won it just for the vitamin C, he did with someone else anyway, but he won a Nobel Prize for a lot of his work and was then systematically dumped by the
Yes.
profession, because he had such an enormous amount of clout. There was still a Linus Pauling Institute where they've done lots of research into vitamins and high dose vitamins and intravenous vitamins and minerals at the same time. I did a lot of research on the book for that. And let's just talk about IV vitamin C. Why would that have some benefit for someone who's going through any form of toxicity, which in your opinion, and I agree with you, is more why the cells have become toxic. They then clump together because they become dysfunctional. And why would IV vitamin C help? I mean, I know the answer to that, but I want it from people want to hear it from you, not from me.
I don't know. I'm always amazed at what the types of therapies can do, like vitamin C. We used to do like monograms and write-ups on different types of treatments and their mechanisms of action. And at the end, while we're reading everything, we realize that oh, we have discovered 25 mechanisms of actions of ascorbic acid, and here's what it does in these situations, and that's barely scratching the surface. So the question of what it's doing is like, well, we have a small image of the amazing ways that it helps the body. Primarily, what I think the underlying way that the ascorbic acid is working is in the electron transport chain, which helps with the utilization of oxygen and how the body is shifting the electrons and energy throughout the body so that you get the energy where it needs to be, and you're improving that communication between one side and the other. So, ascorbic acid helps cells to rebalance so that, for example, tumors aren't overgrowing. They actually can show that the administration of vitamin C systematically decreases the tumor growth rate. And you can track that on a graph and watch to see. Basically, if you give the cells the basic building blocks that they need, they will then be able to start the mechanics of what they need to regenerate and to rebalance. Um, so you can go ahead with the other details of vitamin C.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. It is that we're using vitamin C to energize the what is called the electron transport chain, which is this very, very complicated process, which mitochondria use. Mitochondria, the energy cell, energy basis. That's the theory inside the cell, but it can be used in this context. And they go through this long chain process, which is chopping and changing electrons along the way, which we get that from oxygen. So we'll talk about ozone in a minute. And also we can use vitamin C or vitamin C, so we'd say on this side of the pond, to, I know, to assist the cells to produce energy. If they're producing energy, they're producing structured water. If they're producing structured water and the whole system is running correctly, then those cells no longer need to be rogue cells, for want of a better word, and clumping together and losing their structure. So you are detoxifying the cell is one way to put it, but also giving, as you just said, giving the cell the chance to do what it's meant to do, which we would use the term healing for. So IVs is one other area. Ozone. Let's talk about ozone. You and I did a lot of studies into ozone during our studies many years ago. Ozone. Why do you use
Right.
it?
So, ozone is an oxygen bonded to oxygen 3 times. So it's O3. Typically, ozone likes to be O2. And so we can kind of finagle and get this other oxygen bound to it, which totally changes the impact that it has on the body. It's able to get oxygenation deeper into the tissues as the O3. It is a gas form, and so in order to do an ozone IV, they will withdraw some of the blood into a bag, and then they will put the ozone into that bag and then run it back through the body. And there's a lot of other things they can add on. They can do UV on that. You can do some fancy things. Sometimes you can do an ozone injection directly into a vein. That's a lot more tricky to get right. And so usually they'll pull the blood out first, bubble the ozone through, and then run your blood with the ozone in it. That ozone is it's just amazing in that it will not harm your red blood cells, not cause any type of harm to your tissues as it's diffusing through the body, but it will kill on contact any type of pathogen, any type of non-self kind of protein, which is fascinating to me because ozone, just as a chemical, right, uh, should not really be able to tell the difference between like a red blood cell or a bacteria cell. But the reality of it is that our cells are able to work with the ozone so that it doesn't harm the red blood cells as it's floating around our body, as it's diffusing through. It doesn't cause harm to our tissues, but it does kill on contact other types of pathogens, which is primarily why we use it. Now, of course, increasing the oxygenation to the deeper tissues has a benefit. So even if there's not an immune component that's your primary, um, ozone is still beneficial. I like to rotate the IVs to where you will either do IV vitamin C and then follow that up with the ozone, go back and forth, or even throw in the mix peroxide, which again is going to be releasing the oxygen into the body, just in a little bit different pathway.
And we've also know a little bit about redox water as well, which is a really fascinating subject and quite complicated to talk about because the one that we talk about is they don't like us talking about it. It's ridiculous. But this is just
Right.
put a link in the below as to what that is. You'll see redox water. And then we'll talk a little bit more about that perhaps on a different day. I want to just we've done some great talks. Or you shared a lot already. Your A lot of your work has revolved around working with dentists, biological dentists, and I'd like just to explore that briefly before we complete today, if that's okay with you, Rebecca.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on.
Yeah,
So
it's
in
all good.
here, trying to find my plug.
Because, oh, by the way, on ozone, you can actually get ozone in a topical form in different oils, coconut oil, olive oil. I think you can do it in almond oil. Each one has a different effect. And so this is all achievable and possible. Just need to plug your computer in, I guess.
We were so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about teeth because that was one of the reasons I got to know a little bit about you. Um, so what's the latest thing that's going on regarding teeth? And I'll just talk about this because amalgam fillings were now seen in Europe here where I live. Um, they're banning the use of amalgam fillings. They're just saying you are not allowed to use them in your dental surgery,
Yes.
which is great. I don't know whether that's happening in the US. I think it will,
No,
right?
it's not.
So the question really is why? What are amalgam fillings? Let me just explain that for people. Well, maybe let over to you. Why tell people what's going on so that they get it.
Right, right. So, I mean, the amalgam is the silver type of fillings, although even the white fillings can have toxic metals in them. The primary component that people talk about in amalgams is going to be mercury, and the mercury levels in the amalgam is just astronomical to think of the amount of mercury that they're putting in something in your body. The thought was that the combination, the amalgam itself, would hold with the other metals the mercury together so it would not be released into the body. But I mean, that has been proven time and time again to be completely false. And mercury, other toxic metals are constantly released from that filling in the tooth, and it circulates systemically throughout the body, causing all kinds of different side effects. There is not a typical toxic profile associated with the amalgams because it's a small amount over a long period of time, which is different than what we typically see with your toxic profiles, where you have a high amount over one or a short amount of time that then causes a flare up of a reaction. So sometimes people can have a typical mercury type of toxicity picture. And sometimes the amalgams can be associated with all kinds of chronic disorders like arthritis, like Parkinson's, like Alzheimer's, like back pain, lupus. I mean, the list of the types of syndromes I've seen that have been linked back to or associated with the amalgams is not never ending. Like there's more and more every day that we're finding. So anytime that we identify heavy metals in the mouth, we definitely recommend that you go through steps to have those removed, remedied, whatever the appropriate dental side is, because the level of mercury in that amalgam is much higher than your body can possibly detox on a regular basis. In fact, if you take a standard size mercury filling in the tooth and you measure out the amount of mercury, there's enough mercury in there to make an entire like lake toxic to where it would end up poisoning and killing the fish. So it's um, not a small matter, not a small issue, but it is something that I get a lot of pushback and friction from clients because going through the process, Richard, as you have experienced yourself, is arduous. It's not fun to go through those steps to remove it. But in many times, and I've told people time and time again, the dental component is such a large part of the health. You're looking at, 80 to 90% of the cause of stress to your body. And so it doesn't make sense to leave such a high contributor to the stress and only work on a 10 or 20% area. Um, and so the thermogram pulls out that information when the dental area is a priority. And when that shows up as a priority, then we prep the body ahead of time. That way, we open up the lymphatic system, make sure we have a good drainage. The biologic dentists use a very specialized process for removing the amalgam. They have special certification training they can go through so they minimize the amount of mercury that you're exposed to, that they're exposed to. They actually wear hazmat suits while they're doing this. And then I do follow up with the clients afterwards so that they're able to make sure that the mercury cleared from their body sufficiently, right? So the amalgams are a huge part. We also talk about root canals. Root canals are another major component to toxicity in the body that nobody talks about. It's not discussed in the dental schools. It's not taught. Here in the United States, dental schools still teach amalgams. And any of the students going through who already know, they can request to not work with mercury. They are allowing them to not work with mercury, but that's still part of their schooling. Root canals, that is considered bread and butter for the dentist, for the dental industry. So we get a lot of pushback against not doing root canals. So not only do I recommend not getting a root canal, I recommend that if you have a root canal, you should have it extracted immediately. Don't wait until we figure out there's a symptom associated with it. Don't wait until it is causing you any trouble or causing the tooth beside it trouble. If you have a root canal, I recommend just absolutely put it on your to-do list and have it extracted. End of story. No questions. And that's tough for people. It's tough, but whenever I show them that connection, and there's this fantastic dental chart that shows each of the teeth and how it's connected through the meridians to the rest of the body, when I can show them on that thermogram, here's this chart, here's how this is connected, then they're able to see the importance of those dental interventions.
And we actually talked about that with Marcy because that's all part of the whole thing. And that's what you asked her to do. She did that. And she even, I think in the story I talked about, she only had one quite recently. And then, what later happened with her breast was what caused all of that. We are really coming to the end of this. There's so many other interventions. You even talked about with one of the clients just using essential oils to pull out the toxins or using clay to absorb toxins from say a tumor or a problem inside the gums as other ways that I don't think I've ever heard of that with
Wait, and they don't have to be expensive. They don't
oh,
have to be, specialty types of things. There are multiple solutions to each problem. And you want to have access to as many different tools in your toolbox so that we can match up and get an effective action plan so you can feel better.
and that's what I went to town with on this. It doesn't cost you thousands and thousands and thousands of euros, dollars, yen, whatever you want to talk about money wise, in order to be able to heal yourself. You can do it in different ways. And like I think you were talking with the client the other day, saying, well, you can come to a lovely clinic like this where it's a one-stop shop, so to speak, and we can offer you all these different ways of doing things. Or you can do a lot of it yourself. And in some instances, people just don't have the funds to go and heal themselves. But really, the real underlying principle of this is tumors are because the body has got toxic in that particular area. You also said there's a toxicity throughout the whole of the body. Well, not just one organism. Well, one organ isn't just affected. You talked about the teeth. If the teeth are affected, that statistic that you said 90%, we got to deal with the teeth most of the time. It's crazy. And this is from just not your experience, but this is also working alongside medical practitioners through your training and everything else like that. Is there anything else that you want to share? Because we could talk about infrared therapy.
Right.
Absolutely incredible stuff. I after your recommendation as well, I went off and bought an infrared uh
Need a panel.
well, the whole thing,
Oh, okay.
and I was in that every single day talking to Robbie Bresner from
The
the
Therasage,
yeah,
yes.
great stuff, and use that religiously, practically every other day for 6 months to just pull out the toxins out of my system. And he was amazing. I got to get him on for an interview. But there are maybe other things that you go, no, these are really great new stuff or stuff that we should be talking about. Anything else?
Um, well, if you want your newest cutting edge things to be investigating, right? I'm seeing a lot of impact with methylene blue,
Yeah.
activating your methylene blue with your red light therapy.
Wow. Okay. I'd say that because I talk about methylene blue in the book. And I know there's lots to talk about methylene blue. And it's crazy stuff, isn't it? Because methylene blue I mean, in every cabinet, you used to have methylene blue throughout the whole of Europe. It was like the standard. Where did it go? It's dirt cheap as well, cost nothing. You can buy it for your fish, you put it in your fish tank, and it's pharmaceutical grade. I have some and I
Mhm.
use it.
Yes. Right. So
Don't
so
tell
so
you.
many so many amazing things that we can access that don't have to be expensive that make a big impact on our health. We need to know how to use them, how to get the timing right, plugging it in, listening to the body, understanding how to make those changes, how to make those adjustments, and feeling confidence in your plan of action. That's the biggest question I get. How do I know what to do?
It's incredible. Okay. Rebecca, we really do need to finish there. You got to go to work, and it's pretty late here. Thank you so much for all your time. Thank you for being a
Thank you.
great friend, and congratulations on your recent marriage, which was just amazing.
Which
It's-
which I blame on you. I blame that on you. You're
Oh, there's
you're
a
the one
long
who
story
started
behind
all
that. Maybe.
that.
Oh, I just think it's amazing. Honestly, that's why I'm smiling. When I heard, I was smiling from face from side of my teeth. Well, I can't even say it. All right. It's been a pleasure as always, and we don't often get to speak or see each other because of the internet connections. But hey, um, oh, we got to say, I got to get your new website details and how do people contact you? They can do a consult with you, and that
Yes, the website has a place where you can set up a consult. It's drrebecagracia.com, and I'll send that over to you so you can put it in the links.
perfect. I'll do that. Um, I think we should finish there. I'll see you soon.
Okay,
God
thank you.
bless. God bless. Bye for now.